Swallow frogs. I don't know. Wake up with your feet outside?
Outside, yes.
It just means so many things.
Too many ears turning chicken.
Too many?
Too many ears turning chickens.
No idea what that means.
Go bother Camões. Never heard of it?
No.
You have to learn all of this. You'll be staying
I'm gonna
here
have to
for
learn
a
all
long
of it.
time.
Yeah.
Paddy,
Yeah.
thank you so much for having us here in this tuk-tuk.
Yeah, thanks for
the
having me.
interview. Yes, it is great. So, for more 10 years, right? Why Lisbon? Why did you choose Lisbon?
Why not? I think if you ask anybody in Lisbon today, they'd find it very difficult to give you reasons why not Lisbon. I think it's a very special city. It mightn't be the biggest city in Europe, but I think it's the best city for Web Summit.
What were the terms that involved your agreement with the government and with the mayor? So what did they promise you to stay here for the next 10 years?
Well, the most important component was space. I mean, and we had always said that our preference was to stay in Lisbon if the space existed. There's different ingredients. It's
Yes.
like you're creating a cake, and it's like location. So time of year, November. Weather, Northern Europe, crap. Lisbon, perfect in my view, coming from Ireland. It's amazing. It's like summer. Lisbon was the forgotten child, I think, of Europe for a long time. It was like the little orphan out on the side of Europe, and so from a point of view of tourism, fashion, art, startups, Lisbon is having a moment, and we're happy to be part of it.
Yes, but you also need other things. I remember when you left Dublin,
Yeah.
you were really complaining about the public transportation,
Sure.
the Wi-Fi. Do you receive any compromise while assuring that this will happen, that people will have enough hotel rooms?
Yeah,
to serve?
we've looked at hotel capacity, we've looked at airport capacity. If Web Summit was in June, late August, it would be a disaster. Why? Well, because there's so many tourists, so the number of seats on flights is limited. The number of hotel rooms is very limited. But November is the slowest month in Lisbon. Wi-Fi is the most critical ingredient, I think, possible one of the most critical ingredients. It works, and hopefully it'll work even better this year.
Does it make sense to make such a long compromise with a city for a tech conference?
Oh, I think it makes incredible sense. 3 years was way too short. It created huge uncertainty. You know, once we opened an office, 18 months ago, for the people working here, a lot of Portuguese were asking us, are we going to stay? What about my career? Innovation is never going away. It existed 200 years ago, just in different fields. It exists today, and whatever fields it exists in 10 years, we'll still be there. I mean, cars was not a big part of Web Summit 4 years ago. It didn't exist. There wasn't even a stage. There was almost no content. 4 years later, it's one of the biggest parts of Web Summit. Entrepreneurs aren't going away. Web Summit is just the largest gathering of entrepreneurs in the world, and no matter what area they're pushing, we're going to have them at Web Summit.
You had a troubled year. Last year it had two difficult situations for you to manage. What happened with Le Pen?
Well, first I should say that every company, every CEO, always has to be learning, and has to be open to making mistakes and taking advice. And I think with Le Pen, I think it's a good example of probably the most positive aspect of European societies or Western democratic societies, in that first of all, people have a voice. It's not just every 4 or 5 years at an election. People can vocalize and speak out against things they disagree with. And in the past, I think companies were very reluctant to listen to people who objected to a product or the use of plastic or whatever the case may be, alignment with somebody. And this is to me, it's a perfect example of us listening We listened. A lot of people in Portugal were not happy, and we cancelled the invitation. And I think we have to be open in the future to the exact same outcome as well. I think if we close ourselves off to the opinions of other people, to the voices of other people that care about Web Summit and care about the image of Portugal, then that's not a good thing. So,
do you regret making the invitation in the first place, or do you think it was necessary for you to think about these kinds of things?
you know, of course, I'd prefer that it had never happened, but I also think you've got to see the positive, even in, you know, one of the biggest challenges for us as as an organization.
But you have had another before that another difficult moment here in Portugal regarding the founders' dinner that was in Panteão. Were you expecting that media buzz and the popular voices also that spoke against the idea of doing the dinner there?
Yeah, I think that's also a very good example. You know, we'd seen a lot of pictures of beautiful dinners that had been held there that year. So there had been 3 other dinners that had been held there. It is a remarkably beautiful venue. Had we known that the reaction would be what it was, we'd of course never have held a dinner there. And it's just a very unfortunate situation. And again, I wish it had never happened. There's so many other beautiful venues in Lisbon. It would have been very easy to have the dinner in another venue.
Last year, you told me that you stay offline a lot.
Yeah.
So, do you still disconnect a lot?
Oh yeah, I mean, over the last week, I've left my phone in my hotel room and for the whole day.
Really?
Yeah.
And you didn't get anxious with that?
Oh, a little bit, but really, people can just, I work on my laptop, and so people can catch me on WhatsApp or Slack or ring my phone, and it goes to my laptop. But I think it's just sometimes mobile phones are like a drug. You just have to. You can even see me on the phone. I'm just constantly on it, so it's good to detox for some time.
Well, last year we all listened to the CEO of Cambridge Analytica in the center stage of Web Summit, and a couple of months later, the scandal with Facebook and the Trump election came up, and he resigned. Did you hear Mark Zuckerberg intervention in Congress afterwards in the European Parliament?
Yes.
What did you think about that? Was it enough? Should he have said something more? Were you expecting that? There are different schools of thought. There's sometimes large companies advocate self-regulation, but oftentimes I think when it comes to matters that are so important to society and how we all live and how we all work, that the responsibility for regulation falls on government. And I think over the coming years, there's going to need to be huge debate. Almost new philosophers need to emerge to help provide us with the ideas and the tools to think about how we reorganize society and introduce a new framework and a new set of rules for a new age. We have been seeing more and more the politics and technology being in a relationship that isn't transparent, that isn't clear. What do you think about what's happened in Brazil?
Oh, I mean, throughout history, anytime there's been a new medium that can help or enable any politician on any side come to power, they're quite quick adopters of it. Obama used many of these platforms 13, 14 years ago to sweep to power in the United States. Bernie Sanders was propelled by many of these new technologies. But it means these new technologies are also available to people maybe on the other side of the political spectrum. I don't have the answers, but I think a lot of people are concerned, and that's the reason that at Web Summit many of the big discussions and big debates on the biggest stages are regarding these new tools and the kind of negative uses of those tools.
This is our big interesting times for us, and we have a lot of fears. People are scared about artificial intelligence, about the relationship between politics and technology, about fake news, about a lot of things.
What do you think that is more scarier nowadays?
I mean, I'm on a technology side. I mean, nuclear weapons are a form of technology, and the fact that the United States wants to walk away from one of the most, from an international treaty that is incredibly important and has helped, I would argue, keep the world safe. I mean, that's quite terrifying. Another thing that worries me, I have a young child, 2 years of age, Cloud, and many of my friends have young children, and I see the addictive quality of mobile phones, and I think we're only beginning to come to terms with the fact that just because this technology is powerful and can do amazing things doesn't make it perfect. And in Silicon Valley, the New York Times had a story last weekend, saying that, look, almost all the top executives in the big technology companies literally don't allow their children look at screens.
Yes, I've seen that.
Or they restrict them. And that's very telling. And I think we should take that very seriously. And so I worry that we're not even discussing enough yet about the risks of screens to the well-being of our most defenseless, the youngest in our society.
There was an article saying that maybe Web Summit was going to become a unicorn soon. Is that true?
Well, I don't know. I can't say that. There's been a lot of speculation, especially this year. For the first time, people have said, "Oh, wait, whoa, God,
my God,
wow." We always.
I think that we are almost finished. But
that people have always focused on the event, but very seldom the company behind the event. And maybe this year, the last few months, is the first time people have said, "Wait a minute, how is it that this crazy group of mostly Irish, now increasingly Portuguese, have created this huge event faster than anybody's ever created a big conference?" Some people on Twitter, I think they just want to come and speak. They're like, "It's definitely worth 2 billion, at least 1 billion, maybe 4. It's like,
what do you think about these evaluations?
I think these people want me to invite them to speak. So they're just, they're like, "Let me say amazing things about Web Summit and Paddy will invite me to speak." I think we're doing something interesting. How much it's worth, that doesn't really matter. Maybe we are Portugal's 4th or 5th unicorn. I don't know.
Well, we already have 3.
Okay, so 4th unicorn. Yeah.
So, but we are arriving.
Right.
And I hope you like this tuk-tuk. Do you want to sing? Do you want to make a karaoke carpool?
I don't actually sing. I was kicked out of the choir in school. So.
Really? So no sing for us.
Yeah.
Maybe a U2 song.
No, I can't sing.
Okay. So thank you very much
Great.
for having us here. And you are just checking if everything is okay?
Everything's perfect.
If everyone is working as they are supposed to. So have a great Web Summit.
Fantastic.
So bye. Bye.